In part 3 of this exercise, we are preparing a map in ArcGIS Pro. Ultimately, this map will be pushed up to the cloud and we'll be collecting data into the cloud using this map. Before we get too far along there is one more piece of setup that we need to take care of. And that is if we would like photographs to be taken in the field to help document the features we're going to be collecting, then we need to enable our geodatabase and our restaurants feature class to accept. We need to enable it to accept attachments, and that attachment normally is going to be a photograph. So to do that, I'm going to come over here to the Analysis menu. I'm going to click on Tools, and that's going to bring up the Geoprocessing pane. Now in the Geoprocessing text box, search text box, I'm going to type in attachment, and what I'm looking for is the tool called Enable Attachments. This enables attachments of a geodatabase, so that's the tool that we want to make use of. This tool has only one parameter, and it is what data set should we enable attachments for. I'm going to click on the Browse button. It automatically jumps to my databases folder in my project, which is exactly where we're at. This is what we want to make use of. I'm going to select the Restaurants feature class, click OK, and now finally I'm going to run this geoprocessing task to execute the tool. Okay, that has been completed, and now I'm going to return to the Catalog pane and notice that we have some new stuff added to our geodatabase. One is an attachments table. The other is a relationship class which simply connects the Restaurants feature class to this related table. This related table is going to store our attachments or pointers to our attachments when that gets out to the cloud, to the web. Now notice that when I completed that process, another change has been made, and that is that the Restaurants feature class has been added to the contents of my current map. The other thing that's very interesting is notice that because we applied a subtype to this Restaurants feature class, that Arc automatically symbolizes this feature class by subtype. And this can be a very handy little quick capability, again, to save you just a little bit of time. Right now these symbols are not very intuitive. They're just little dots with slightly different colors, not even very different, just slightly different colors. So let's spend a little bit of time modifying this symbology. I'm going to do that by clicking on this symbology here. The other thing, of course, I could do is to right-click on the Restaurants feature class and choose Symbology. It essentially takes us to the same place. The other subtype, let's say, we're going to do kind of a, let's just do a gray circle. I don't know what this is. It just kind of looks generic, and that'll work out just fine. Now I'm going to choose fast food. I don't know, what should we use here? I'm just going to use what color might be fast looking. Something like that. You know, when you're looking at these sort of things, it's kind of tempting to choose something really cool. Maybe even really dig into this thing and build something yourself. Make some just fantastic looking tools here or symbols. The consideration is that some symbols that you take a look at that you can do in ArcGIS Pro are not supported in ArcGIS Online yet. Now there's less and less and less of that every time there's a little update done to ArcGIS Online, but you'll still see that sometimes. I think though, that this restaurant's symbol is supported, so we're going to go ahead and give this a try. So this is a restaurant symbol, kind of having brown colors inside of it. I'm kind of curious if I can change that. Let's take a look. Sure enough, if I go to the properties of this individual symbol, here we see that brown color, and if I change it to a bright red, and now I click, notice here's what it's going to look like. I click apply. That looks a whole lot better. I like that. Now I'm going to click on the back button once again to return to the primary Symbology page. Family style, you know what? I'm going to use a very similar symbol here. The restaurant symbol, but I'm simply going to apply a little bit different color to it. Now, once you have finished what I call your Symbology masterpiece, just make sure you do not forget to save your ArcGIS Pro project. You know, Pro doesn't crash a whole lot, but I have gotten into the habit that at certain points in these processes that I will make sure I save things at that time. And what a good time to save it. We have just finished our Symbology. Next, we're going to prepare this project for sharing as a web service. Now, when we do that, we're going to be asked to provide some basic information, almost metadata, for this project, which will become a web map. Now, we can wait until ArcGIS Pro prompts us for a title, for a summary, tags, and so on and so forth, or we can be a little bit proactive in this, and I prefer the latter. The reason for that is if you launch and start stepping through this wizard, it's almost like a wizard, of sharing a web layer, and if you have to bail out of it for whatever reason, you have to quit it, oh, I made a mistake, I got to make this change before I publish this thing, well, you're going to essentially delete all the work that you've done on documenting that web map. And then the next time you launch it, to step through it again, you're going to have to enter all that same information once again. I hate doing the same thing over and over and over again. You're much better off doing it once and doing it well. And here is how to do it. Click on the map in your contents. Now, this map could be called something different if you named your map, renamed your map, and we're going to do that here in a little bit. But click on what's called right now map, right-click it, and go to its properties. Now, the name of this map, I'm going to first of all change this to Restaurants for Real-Time GIS. Next, I'm going to drop down to Metadata, and I'm going to give this a similar name for the title of my map. The tags, I will type in Idaho, some sort of delimiter between those. Restaurants, I'll put in Idaho State University. I'll put in Collector. Now, a lot of folks just kind of skim by this as well, but I'm learning that we need to be paying a little bit more attention to the tags, because as you are creating data in your ArcGIS Online for your organization, or potentially sharing it with the public, you want to make it and set it up in such a way that people can find your data. Believe it or not, they won't necessarily know exactly what you named or titled each of your maps. But as long as they can search, and they're going to be able to search by tags. So think about some very useful keywords or tags. In other words, if you were searching for reviews on area restaurants, well, what type of words would you use to conduct that search? Restaurants Works out pretty good. Maybe we add in area restaurants. We add in the word reviews. Your ArcGIS Online for organizations, you might want to add in some kind of generic tags as well. You might want to specify, hey, this is in Idaho, Boise, Idaho, Pocatello, Idaho, whatever it happens to be. So give some good thought to those tags. Type in a summary and also type in a description. Oftentimes I will use the summary in the description as well, but I'll elaborate on that. Notice also that your description can be marked up a little bit. I'm going to make this one bold just to see how it carries through on the web. Certainly give some good thoughts to the credits, and I'll suggest that you add your name. You're the person creating this thing, perhaps your organization's name as well. Use limitations if there are any. And lastly, I'm going to go ahead and click OK when I'm finished. I can see that all these edits and changes have been made. So now, once again, I'm clicking to save my project. Part 3 is now complete. We're going to jump into Part 4 in just a minute.